I, Bobby Cameron, do solemnly and sincerely swear.
Tonight, critics say that having a criminal record should have disqualified a top Saskatchewan First Nations chief from the last election. Also, a Winnipeg man pleads guilty to manslaughter in the 2021 death of a Saskatchewan RCMP officer. Plus,
things you couldn't get anyplace else, you could get it here.
The end of an era. We stop in at a rural Saskatchewan store closing its doors after operating in Big Beaver for nearly a century.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, September 27th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. There are tough questions tonight about why the chief of Saskatchewan's most powerful First Nations organization was even allowed to run for office. That's because CBC News has discovered Bobby Cameron has a 1993 criminal record for theft. First Nations leaders say that's clearly grounds for disqualification. Jason Warwick has more.
I, Bobby Cameron, do solemnly and sincerely swear.
Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations Chief Bobby Cameron held an eagle feather as he took his oath of office in the fall of 2021.
I, Bobby Cameron, do declare and testify that I am, according to the laws of the FSIN, qualified to be elected as a member of the FSIN executive.
But critics are now questioning that pledge. CBC News has obtained a copy of Cameron's criminal record, and it contains a conviction for theft. Now, the FSIN's own election rules prohibit anyone from running for election if they have a theft conviction. The criminal record clause was used to disqualify 4 other candidates in the 2021 election. The former chief of Cowessess First Nation, Cadmus Delorme, sat on the FSIN's electoral commission at the time. He says he was unaware of Cameron's record and that this needs to be investigated.
Is Chief Bobby the chief? Well, you know what? The FSIN has moved forward. Was good governance followed? From my understanding, it was not.
Bobby Cameron didn't hide his criminal record from the FSIN. The electoral officer in 2021 says she raised concerns about his record 2 weeks before the election and why Cameron wasn't granted leniency when others weren't, but she says she was told to let it go. Cameron's rival was former Flying Dust First Nation chief Bob Morasti. Morasti says this is evidence that the FSIN has strayed from its original vision.
I think people are getting tired of what's going on. They're tired of seeing the norm. It's become the norm to see the manipulation and to see, I'll say it, the corruption. It's become the norm. And when did that become the norm of FSIN? That cannot continue.
Okay. Morasti says he's considering his legal and political options. Cameron and other FSIN officials did not reply to repeated interview requests. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A Winnipeg man has admitted to killing a Saskatchewan RCMP officer 2 years ago. However, the man pleaded guilty to a charge of manslaughter and not first-degree murder as initially charged. In June of 2021, Constable Shelby Patton was conducting a traffic stop in Wolseley, east of Regina. That's when the driver of a stolen vehicle accelerated, hitting and killing the 26-year-old officer. Alphonse Traverse was originally facing a charge of first-degree murder, but today, Traverse entered a plea of the lesser charge of manslaughter. The mother of the RCMP officer says the guilty plea is a weight off the family's shoulders, but that there is still a long path ahead.
I mean, it's still trauma. There's just having to go to court, period. It's trauma. Having to do the victim impact statement is terrible. And then I do still feel like I'm living in hell because he's not here.
Traverse also pleaded guilty to a charge of theft of a vehicle. He's scheduled to be sentenced in February. The Saskatoon Tribal Council's decision to evict people with complex needs from its homeless shelter is drawing some criticism. The head of Prairie Harm Reduction says community service organizations must support everyone, not just those who are easy to serve. Yesterday, Tribal Chief Mark Arcand announced the Emergency Wellness Centre in Saskatoon will introduce a zero-tolerance policy starting October 1st. Staff will ask police to help evict 30 individuals who use drugs on the property or act in a violent way. Arcand says the Tribal Council doesn't have the resources to help individuals with complex addiction and mental health issues and will instead focus on families. Prairie Harm Reduction says kicking them out is not a solution.
People are going to die sleeping out in the cold. This is no longer a moral issue. This is a human rights issue. And we have stopped treating these people as humans. And, the one common value of harm reduction programs across this country and across this world is understanding that people are human beings and they deserve access to support no matter what.
Demong says she understands that government funding is inadequate. She wants community organizations to pool resources and create centralized facilities for those who are dealing with substance use disorders. The opposition NDP says former Premier Grant Devine should not be on the University of Saskatchewan's Board of Governors. Opposition MLA Alina Young held a media availability today to criticize the reappointment of Devine to the U of S Board of Governors. Young said Premier Scott Moe should rescind the appointment. Devine was first appointed to the board by former Premier Brad Wall in 2017. Young says members of Devine's government were charged with fraud, and that should disqualify him from being on the board.
Look, some people may see this as symbolic, but this matters. This is no way to run an institution as important as the U of S, and this is no way to run an economy. These things are symbolic, but these things also matter, and this government just doesn't get it anymore.
Devine was never implicated in any criminal wrongdoing. A spokesperson for the government says Devine has been on the board for 6 years and is a great advocate for the university. The spokesperson says other former premiers, including Lorne Calvert and Roy Romano, also held positions at the University of Saskatchewan after leading government. A 5-year-old Alberta boy whose disappearance on Monday triggered an emotional search on the Frog Lake First Nation has been found alive. Elk Point RCMP say the nonverbal boy was located late yesterday, a few kilometers from his home. The search began Monday afternoon on the First Nation northwest of Lloydminster, not far from the Saskatchewan border. Edmonton Police and Alberta RCMP had helicopters in the air and canine units on the ground. The search was also happening by horseback. As many as 300 people were involved in the search for the 5-year-old. RCMP did say he would need medical attention for exposure. Demolition crews are prepping the site of a burned-out heritage building in downtown Regina. Fire officials say the Gordon Block building is structurally unsound and must come down. They're still unable to search inside for potential victims or determine the cause of the fire. Today, the farmers market that usually happens just outside the building moved to the 2000 block of Scarth Street. That's where you'll find it next Wednesday as well. As for Saturdays, the market will be in Confederation Park next to Mosaic Stadium. The city says other events must be relocated as well, including one for National Day for Truth and Reconciliation this Saturday. It's working with organizers to find another space. And there are events starting tomorrow in Saskatchewan to honor those affected by residential schools. It's not enough, though, for a hockey lover in northwestern Saskatchewan. Will McClernand has more on efforts to start conversations at the rink all winter long.
At Extreme Hockey, General Manager Donnie Uren unpacks a new shipment of hockey sticks. But these orange and black twigs are meant to do more than just put the pucks in the net. The Every Child Matters hockey sticks feature 6 symbols. Each carry deep meaning in the context of residential school institutions and Indigenous culture.
This is something very special and something significant to our market and to our culture, so this is amazing. So this won't be lasting very long in our store.
The teardrop signifies that when the children went to the residential schools, they weren't allowed to cry.
The sticks are the brainchild of Clay Debray. The Métis man manages a sports store at Flying Dust First Nation. He wanted to spark conversations about the Every Child Matters movement and the legacy of residential schools. He drew inspiration from the World Juniors in Halifax, where players were awarded these commemorative sticks with Indigenous artwork. But Debray wanted to create a stick that would be used on the ice.
My oldest son is a junior A hockey player, and I want him to have a stick so his teammate sitting right next to him can look at that stick and ask the questions what that stick is about. And my son will be able to tell the story. He'll be able to explain the symbols and use it as a conversation piece.
DeBray reached out to a Muskeg Lake Cree Nation elder and residential school survivor to get help with the design. That elder told CBC News that public education is the starting point to reconciliation. A scholar of Indigenous literatures at Queen's University says the stick can help with that.
Part of what the stick is seeking to do is leverage hockey's popular cultural capital in order to encourage Canadians to think and act differently. And because hockey has such passionate fans and players throughout the country, there's a real opportunity there.
Part of the proceeds from each stick will go towards 3 organizations that support residential school survivors and Indigenous communities. About 3,000 sticks will be sold across the country. Will McClernand, CBC News.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders front office got in front of the microphone today to assure fans the team is not a lost cause. The Riders have dropped 3 games in a row. The latest was a 36-28 loss to Ottawa on Friday. The team has had an up-and-down season, but it is still holding on to 3rd place in the West at 6-8. Riders general manager Jeremy O'Day says there's pressure to have success, especially in Saskatchewan, but the team is still vying for the playoffs.
We're just looking forward to making a push here, and I think that I know that we've lost some games in a row here, but I think it's important to understand that we're in 3rd place right now, and we need to win some games to secure a playoff spot, and then anything can happen. But this team is not feeling like our season is over by any means.
O'Day is in the last year of his contract. He declined to comment on his thoughts for the future. Well, you don't have to take our word for it, just Google it. The search engine giant is celebrating its 25th anniversary today. The company is now part of Alphabet and incorporated in September of 1998. The company's grown and changed from just a search engine to a multinational technology empire that includes e-commerce, business solutions, and advertising, valued at more than $1 trillion with a T dollars. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. In rural Saskatchewan, people often rely on their general store to be a one-stop shop for nearly everything. At Aus General Store in Big Beaver, the motto is, if we don't have it, you don't need it. But after nearly a century, the general store will close this Friday. We take you there for one last look.
Looks like lots of good deals. It's been a place where everybody depended on the town here because the Aus were good at looking after things with the town. Well, it's a pretty sad day for everybody because the store was pretty great here, well known throughout the country, and we'd come here at 6 o'clock in the morning and play cards.
My great-grandparents purchased it off the Marches in 1959. It's been in the family since then, up until this point. My grandfather purchased the store from my great-grandfather in the 70s and has been the owner and proprietor of the business since then.
Well, I guess he had pretty well everything you needed, and the veterinarian stuff, a lot of stuff here, hardware stuff on the other side, all kinds of things he had. Things you couldn't get anyplace else, you could get it here. And of course the sign on the wall says it up there.
A lot of the products have changed. Obviously, if you dig in some of these back rooms, you can find some originals. We found a pre-80s sealed bottle of crushed soda that's unopened. Boxes of medicine, over-the-counter medicines from the 40s. But for the most part, it has remained a country store with general goods and tried to stock everything that you needed in one local spot. My memories go back to when I was probably a kid, probably bugging my grandfather more than anything, coming here and quote-unquote helping him run the store, and that would be anything from carrying out a bag of groceries to pricing a flat of corn you know, that he probably had to pick all the stickers back off of after I was done pricing it. To be honest, the Aus name has been kind of ubiquitous with this, at least area of the province, let alone, you know, the country in a lot of places. So that stuff is directly linked to myself and our family and the community as a whole. So it's pretty important, and it's a sad day to finally say we have to close it. It's no surprise that these country stores are getting more and more difficult to remain profitable, and at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. If this store could remain profitable, it'd still be operating. We were lucky enough to have some people operating the store for the family, and unfortunately, it's just a sign of the times.
This weather update is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. And some people in this province saw a big temperature swing today.
Yeah, definitely a lot cooler. Some 10 degrees in some portions of the province. But, you know, yesterday was so warm. We did break some temperature records, including in the Battlefords, over 30 degrees. And that is an over 70-year temperature record that fell yesterday. Lucky Lake getting above the 30-degree mark and breaking records, even in the north, getting close to or over 25 degrees. And a bit of a different record in Regina. We've had 135 days so far this year where we've been over 20 degrees, and that's the most number of days over 20 degrees in any year that we've seen in 140 years of record keeping, according to our trusty friend Ralph Campbell, who keeps weather records across the country. And in September so far, 24 of our 27 days have been over 20 degrees, and the normal for September for over 20 is only about 13 days, so we're well above. And by the way, the record number for plus 20 days in September is 25, so we'll have to see if we can break that record in the coming few days here. Now, Saskatoon, Rolf doesn't keep records for you, but we do know that you saw 125 days, a few less than Regina so far this year, 21 so far in the month of September. And again, that is also well above the average for September. And look, still 20 plus temperatures on the board at this hour, all throughout south and central Saskatchewan, and getting close in northern Saskatchewan too. Above normal, of course, still for this time of year. Now, a little bit of instability building in over the next couple of days. We saw some showers early this morning. We've been seeing showers in the north of the province thanks to this area of low pressure. That moves out tonight, but this secondary area of low pressure bringing rain through portions of south and central, mostly eastern sections overnight tonight, but that clears as we head through the morning tomorrow, leading to a mostly sunny day. Still showery and cloudy, though, in the north. And in fact, a few of those showers overnight tonight in southern Saskatchewan could bring a few thunderstorms. Things clearing out Friday, still cloudy in the north, but south and central, next best chance for substantial rain likely coming on the weekend. But with showers overnight tonight, topping out generally at the highest, probably around 5 millimeters in eastern sections. I think kind of the heaviest rain will be falling as the system intensifies into Manitoba tomorrow. And a little bit breezy as that system passes by us in southern Saskatchewan tomorrow afternoon. Gusts out of the west and northwest close to 40 kilometers an hour, and those will back off just slightly in advance of that system moving in over the weekend. Now, in terms of Regina, yeah, are we going to hit 20 degrees? Well, we'll get pretty close for sure tomorrow especially, but then temperatures back off. Again, the weekend could bring maybe 5 to 10 millimeters of rain by the time all is said and done before temperatures kind of get closer to seasonal into those mid-teens. Saskatoon, I'm afraid no more 20s on the board for you in this forecast. I think that's the first time we've seen that so far this fall. Rain likely to come for you Sunday before you get those clearing conditions. So yes, no 20s left, Sam, for now, but still quite nice.
Oh, you never know with Mother Nature, Ethan.
Yeah, it could come out of the blue. Maybe in November. Who knows?
You never know. Thanks.
You bet.
We'll be back after the break. The city of Calgary has charged the catering kitchen at the center of an E. coli outbreak linked to several daycares. Alberta's Chief Medical Officer of Health says it's believed the likely source of the infection has been found.
We believe that meatloaf and vegan loaf meals that were served for lunch on August the 29th most likely contained the E. coli bacteria that led to these infections.
The commercial kitchen Fueling Minds is facing a dozen charges. That includes operating without a business license and could be slapped with fines up to $120,000. There have been 351 confirmed cases since the outbreak was declared September 4th. 4 kids are still in hospital. The Alberta government announced that it's forming a panel to examine the province's food safety practices. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has issued an apology for last week's embarrassing incident in the House of Commons. On Friday, a Ukrainian World War II vet was honored during a visit by President Volodymyr Zelensky. It was later learned that the 98-year-old veteran had fought in a unit commanded by Nazis.
On behalf of all of us in this House, I would like to present unreserved apologies for what took place on Friday and to President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation for the position they were put in. For all of us who were present to have unknowingly recognized this individual was a terrible mistake and a violation of the memory of those who suffered grievously at the hands of the Nazi regime.
In a statement prior to question period, Trudeau apologized on behalf of Parliament and the country for the mistake. The opposition has been calling on him to take personal responsibility, but Trudeau maintains the Speaker of the House was solely responsible. The Speaker announced his resignation yesterday. An election to select a new Speaker is set for this coming Tuesday. And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather, and it sounds like fall is going to fall.
I think it is going to do just that, and the clouds are going to cloud, too, in southern Saskatchewan, looking at cloudy skies by midnight in Regina. Still warm, though, maybe some showers and thunderstorms overnight, but for the most part, that should be cleared out by the time we head to the 8 a.m. hour and you're getting ready to head out the door, so probably don't need to send the kids out with a rain jacket or anything like that. Be a little bit breezy, though, as we head toward the afternoon. Those winds picking up from the west close to 30, probably closer to 40 as we head through the afternoon hours. In Saskatoon, again, possibility of some cloud and showers overnight tonight, and still a little bit cloudy as we head to the 8 a.m. hour, 12 degrees. Clouds building in a little bit by the noon hour, but important to note that we'll likely get some clearing through the afternoon. So a little bit of cloud and wind here and there, Sam, but not too bad.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we leave you tonight, some Made in Saskatchewan movies and TV shows are coming to your screen soon. And today, Creative Saskatchewan previewed 9 of 34 productions funded over the past 2 years, including this holiday rom-com filmed in Maple Creek.
Yeah. You can take the girl out of the city, but you can't take the city out of the girl.
This place has a way of changing you. I want to know what makes this place so special.
A Cowboy Christmas received a Creative Saskatchewan feature film and TV production grant. Some producers were at the IMAX in Regina this afternoon to screen trailers on the big screen. They got a sneak peek at season 2 of Zarka, which you can see on CBC Gem, as well as the local food docuseries Flat Out Food and the latest Heritage Minute.
Man, we've got some incredible talent in this province. We also get to showcase the beauty of this province. This is a slice of paradise that we want to really share with the world. You know, and when you realize that for every dollar invested, $4 comes back to the province. So our film and television industry, they're economic drivers. You know, there's over $21 million coming back into our economy.
More than 200 community members served as extras in the Cowboy Christmas. It's expected to reach international audiences this holiday season. And I'll be watching for it. That is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to our website, subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Ethan will be back with more local news and weather at 11. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great night.